Okay, imagine this for a second. A single car. It costs more than your house to build. Seriously.
And then the drivers just, routinely smash these multi-million-dollar machines into walls at like over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah. And we're talking team spending,
Yeah.
annual spending, that can hit, what, $400 million?
Uh-huh. Often without even a single win to show for it.
It sounds completely illogical, right? I mean, it's a spectacle, sure, but a smart business seems unlikely.
Well, that's the thing.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into Formula One. It's got to be one of the most expensive, most exclusive, and honestly, just fascinating business operations in all of sports.
Absolutely.
Our mission here is basically to follow the money, look past the crashes,
Okay.
past the champagne,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out the real economic incentives that make this 200-mile-an-hour financial roller coaster
Hmm.
actually a calculated, sometimes even brilliant business decision.
It's quite a machine.
Right. So, to set the scene a bit,
Yeah.
let's maybe flash back. Think May 19th, 1996, Monte Carlo.
Oh, that race. Yeah.
Exactly. Heavy rain had just let up. Michael Schumacher's on pole. Green lights go out.
Hmm.
And it's just chaos.
Instant chaos.
First lap, 3 cars crash out.
Right.
5 laps in, 8 cars are done.
Just dropping like flies.
Totally. They kept crashing through all 75 laps, into
Yeah.
walls, into each other. By the end, how many finished? 3.
Only 3 cars actually crossed the line. It was unbelievable.
And the whole time, you've got team owners, sponsors watching from their yachts in the marina,
Right there in the harbor.
watching these multi-million-dollar investments just get smashed to bits.
Stomach churning stuff for them, I imagine.
Absolutely. So that's the kind of sheer risk these teams are dealing with, every single race weekend.
It's immense.
So the big question for our deep dive today really is, given these huge costs, these huge risks, why would any smart investor, any big corporation, choose to get involved?
Why step onto that tightrope?
Exactly. What's the actual business model here that makes sense of what looks like, well, madness? Let's try and unpack it.
Okay, so to really get the teams, I think we first need to understand the big picture. The Formula One group itself.
Right. The entity running the show.
Exactly, the commercial entity.
Yeah.
In 2024, they generated, wait for it, $3.65 billion in revenue.
Wow. $3.65 billion.
And it's important to remember, this isn't money from the teams. This is revenue the F1 brand itself generates. It operates like this massive global entertainment business.
Okay, $3.65 billion that's a staggering number. So it's not just ticket sales, obviously. Where does that kind of money really come from?
Good question.
And maybe more importantly, what does that mix of income tell us about how strong F1 is strategically?
Yeah, you've hit on a key point there. It's like a well-oiled machine, F1's revenue.
Yeah.
It has 4 main parts, and the fact that it's diversified, that's part of its strength.
Okay.
The biggest piece, about a third, 33% roughly, that's about $1.2 billion, comes from broadcasting.
TV rights.
Exactly. TV networks, streaming platforms all over the world paying massive fees to show the races.
So global TV deals, that's the lion's share. But the insight isn't just the amount, is it? It's that diversified model.
Precisely.
It means F1 isn't just a sport, it's like a content empire, almost recession-proof, because it's not banking on just one thing. That's the real genius, right?
Absolutely. That diversification is crucial. So the next big chunk, maybe 29% of the total pie, comes from race hosting fees.
Hosting fees from the circuits.
Yeah, the circuit owners or sometimes local governments, they pay anywhere from, say, $15 million up to maybe $60 million a year just for the privilege of having a Grand Prix.
60 million. Wow.
And we've seen a trend lately, especially with newer tracks, places maybe backed by government money, like in the Middle East. They're often paying top dollar to get that spot on the calendar.
So countries are basically bidding against each other for these races, like an Olympic bid almost.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It brings in tourism, global attention.
Makes sense for F1. But is there a limit? Are these fees getting maxed out, or is demand still huge? And what's the risk for a city if they pay millions and don't get the return they hoped for? Especially with some of those big bids.
That's a really good question, and it's something F1 constantly has to balance. The demand is still incredibly high, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always a risk for hosts if they overspend or overestimate the benefits.
Okay. So broadcasting, hosting, what else?
Right. Then you've got global sponsorships. That's another, say, 15% to 20%.
The names you see everywhere. Pirelli, Heineken.
Aramco, yeah. All those big household brands plastering their logos everywhere. They pay big money to be associated with F1 and its, massive global audience.
And the rest?
The rest is things like hospitality, those fancy Paddock Club tickets, merchandise licensing, and F1's own digital platforms like F1 TV, which is growing fast.
Okay, so F1 Group is pulling in billions.
Yeah.
But where does that cash actually go? Does it all stay with them? Or do the teams, the ones actually racing, get a piece of that huge pie? Because that's what we really want to know today.
That is the key question, isn't it? So roughly 38% of that total revenue, which was around $1.2 billion back in 2023, gets distributed back to the 10 teams.
$1.2 billion split between 10 teams. How?
It's all governed by something called the Concord Agreement.
Concord Agreement, okay.
Think of it as F1's secret rule book, almost. It's this confidential document that lays out the commercial side, the sporting relationships between the F1 group, the teams, and the FIA, the governing body.
So it's the foundation.
Absolutely. It provides stability and, crucially, defines how the money works.
So this $1.2 billion,
Yeah.
Is it an even split?
Yeah.
10 teams, everyone gets $120 million. Or is it? Well, are some teams more equal than others? Because that matters a lot for competition.
No, not equal at all. And this is where you really see the history and the power dynamics playing out.
Also.
The money is distributed based partly on how well you do in the championship standings at the end of the season.
Performance-based makes sense.
But also, and this is critical based on how long your team has been in Formula One.
And longevity pays.
Big time. A team like Ferrari, for example, they've been there since day one, literally 1950. They get extra historical bonuses on top of their performance money.
Ah, okay. So it's baked in.
It's a built-in advantage for the teams that have been around forever.
Right. So if you're a powerhouse, a Ferrari or a Mercedes, you might pull in, what, over $150 million in prize money?
Yeah, in that ballpark.
But a team struggling at the back might only see $60 or $70 million, which, okay, still sounds like a lot.
It does, until you realize.
Exactly. Until
Right.
you realize just how incredibly expensive it is to actually run one of these teams.
Yeah.
That prize money alone, it's clearly not enough to keep the lights on for most of them.
Not even close for most. And, before 2021, it was even wilder. There were basically no rules on how much an F1 team could spend.
No limit.
None.
Yeah.
So the big teams, the manufacturers, they could just dump unbelievable amounts of money into their operations, whatever it took, hoping to buy performance, basically.
How much are we talking?
Those numbers often got as high as $400 million, even $500 million annually.
$500 million in 1 year. I can't even fathom that. What did that budget even cover? I mean, the car's got to be a huge chunk, but it can't be just the car, can it?
You're right. The car is definitely the single most expensive asset. You've got hundreds of engineers working on it, millions poured into R&D just to find, a thousandth of a second advantage.
Tiny gains, huge costs.
Exactly. Every single part on an F1 car is custom built. It's a prototype, really, often one-of-a-kind components, and that includes the engines, the power units, these incredibly complex hybrid things.
Right, the power units are key.
If you're a team like Haas, buying your engine from, say, Ferrari or Mercedes, you're looking at spending around $15 million a year, just for the engine.
$15 million just for the engine. And it's not just the hardware, right? It's the people. It feels like they employ small armies.
Oh, absolutely.
What does that look like? Is there a point where having more engineers stops helping? Or is every single person a measurable advantage in this kind of competition?
That's a great point about efficiency. Most top teams, they employ somewhere between 800 to maybe 1,200 people.
1,200 people.
Yeah, highly specialized roles. Even the quote-unquote smaller teams usually have around 300 to 400 staff.
Still a lot.
Then you have to think about the logistics. Transporting this entire circus, cars, equipment, people all over the globe for 24 races a year.
Plus shipping spares, upgrades.
Exactly. Flying parts from the factory to the track constantly. Those costs can easily get out of control. And that's before you even pay the really high-priced talent.
And we haven't even talked about the drivers yet. The people actually willing to climb into these incredibly fast, finely tuned machines and push them to the absolute limit. They must cost a fair bit.
Oh, yeah. Driver salaries are another massive piece of the puzzle. A rookie contract might start around, say, $500,000 a year.
What?
But that can skyrocket up to $55 million, maybe even $60 million a year for the absolute top guys like Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen.
$60 million for one driver.
Yep. So this spending war, it just got so out of hand that in 2021, Formula One finally had to, hit the brakes.
Right, the budget cap.
Exactly. They introduced a budget cap for the first time ever.
Right.
Started at $145 million in 2021, and it's actually dropped slightly since then to $135 million per year.
Okay, $135 million. That sounds incredibly tight. Especially when you just said Verstappen might make $60 million. How does a team like Red Bull, paying their star driver tens of millions, even make that math work inside a $135 million cap? It feels impossible.
That's where you got to read the fine print.
Exclusions.
Exactly. Within that budget cap, there are some really important exclusions that give the teams, especially the big ones, crucial wiggle room.
Like what? What's not included?
Specifically, things like driver salaries are completely outside the cap.
Uh-huh.
Also excluded. The salaries of the 3 highest paid executives at the team, all marketing costs, and a few other specific areas.
So the cap mostly limits engineering, car development, operational stuff.
Yeah.
But not the superstar driver deals or the top boss salaries.
Correct. So while the cap has definitely helped level the playing field a bit, the biggest teams still have significant advantages. They've got the established factories, the wind tunnels, and they can still spend unlimited amounts in those key uncapped areas.
Right. Which brings up a big question. How do the smaller teams, the independent ones, without those historical bonuses you mentioned, or giant budgets for uncapped spending, how do they even compete? It feels like David versus Goliath every single race.
Well, like any business challenge, right? The smaller you are, the more creative you have to be.
Okay, how?
Let's take the Haas F1 team as an example. When Gene Haas brought them into F1 in 2016, they did something totally different.
What was that?
Instead of trying to build everything from scratch, they bought as many parts of the car as the rules allowed directly from Ferrari. Engine, gearbox, suspension.
The customer car model, essentially.
Exactly. That let them operate with, fewer than 250 employees when they started. Just a fraction of what the big teams had. Other teams, like Williams, for instance, they've survived through technical partnerships, sometimes having drivers who bring sponsorship money with them, and just becoming incredibly efficient with how they spend their cash.
Okay, so creativity is vital for the existing smaller teams.
Yeah.
But what if you were a billionaire, loads of cash burning a hole in your pocket, and you wanted to start a brand new F1 team right now?
Oh boy.
How much would that cost? What are the hurdles?
It's not exactly a simple phone call. First off, just to get a spot on the grid, to get pit lane access, you need to pay what's called an anti-dilution fee.
The anti-dilution fee.
Yeah, it's currently around $200 million.
$200 million just to join.
And that's not even an entry fee to F1 itself. That money goes directly to the existing 10 teams.
And compensate them.
Exactly, to compensate them because a new team would dilute their share of the prize money pot we talked about earlier.
Wow, so it's basically a massive keep-out sign funded by the potential newcomer.
Pretty much. It signals that F1 is now this closed shop, a high-value club fiercely protecting its members.
Okay, $200 million down. What else?
Then you need the actual facilities, right? A factory, design offices, race simulators, maybe a wind tunnel if you've got really deep pockets. That's probably another $100 million to $200 million.
And this is all before you've even designed a car or hired anyone.
Precisely. Then, building your very first car, you're probably looking at another $100 million to $150 million for year one development.
Okay, we're racking up quite a bill here.
And definitely don't forget staffing, equipment, operating costs. You'll need enough cash on hand to cover probably 2 years before you start getting any significant prize money payouts.
So all in, before your car even turns a wheel on track, you've spent, what, close to $500 million?
Easily. $500 million, maybe more, just to get started.
That completely explains all the drama around the Andretti Cadillac bid to join F1, doesn't it?
It really does.
Even with American racing royalty like Andretti and backing from General Motors, they faced huge resistance. Reports of being asked to make concessions, remove Mario Andretti himself, even rumors of being asked for a $450 million anti-dilution fee.
It got very contentious. The existing teams pushed back hard.
It's like the world's most exclusive country club seeing a new application and immediately doubling the membership fee, but with billions at stake. The message seems crystal clear. The current members are protecting their franchise value.
That's exactly what it is. You have to remember, this isn't just about pure racing anymore for the owners. It's about protecting a multi-billion-dollar enterprise.
Right.
So, okay, we understand the immense cost. Now, let's flip it. How do teams actually make money? Because surely these operations aren't just burning hundreds of millions a year purely for the love of racing or just for fun. There has to be a solid business reason.
We talked about the prize money earlier, but like you said, for most teams, that doesn't cover much at all. Right. So where does the real income come from? The money that makes owners think, yeah, this is a worthwhile investment.
The real money is primarily sponsorships. And these come in different levels, different tiers.
Okay.
At the very top, you have title sponsorship deals. This gives the company naming rights for the team. Think, Oracle, Red Bull Racing, or Mercedes-AMG Petronas.
How much are those worth?
Those contracts can go as high as $50 million, even $100 million per year. Oracle's deal with Red Bull is widely reported to be around $100 million annually.
$100 million a year just for the name.
Then you have other major sponsors, maybe logos in prime positions on the car, the side pods, the wings. Those can cost maybe $10 million to $30 million a year.
Still huge numbers.
And then it scales down. Smaller logos might be $1 million to $5 million. Even the tiniest little stickers you see might run around $500,000.
So it's a sliding scale based on how much TV time your logo gets, basically.
Partly, yes. But what a lot of people might not realize is that the true value for many sponsors, especially certain types, isn't just having their logo flash past on TV.
Oh, what is it then?
There's a much more exclusive, high-stakes game happening behind the scenes.
Intriguing. Tell me more.
It revolves around the Paddock Club, F1's ultra-exclusive hospitality area.
Ah, the fancy tents.
Exactly. But it's way more than just fancy tents and champagne. This is where a huge amount of value is often generated for sponsors.
Yeah.
Companies use their Paddock Club access to bring their absolute top clients, their biggest prospects. They wine and dine them, they network, they make deals with other major corporations who are also there doing the same thing. It's an unparalleled B2B environment.
So it's like the ultimate corporate schmooze fest.
In a way, yes. A single weekend pass costs thousands of dollars. And genuinely, business deals worth millions, sometimes hundreds of millions, get discussed or even finalized in the Paddock Club over a race weekend.
Wow.
This is especially valuable for business-to-business companies. Think big tech firms, consulting companies, financial services. They aren't necessarily trying to sell something to the average fan watching at home.
They're selling to the CEO in the next suite. So, okay, it's less about your logo being seen by millions at 200 mile a wire and more about the ultimate high-stakes golf course effect, but with supercars and champagne instead of fairways.
That's a perfect analogy.
Suddenly paying $50 million for a title sponsorship doesn't sound quite as crazy if it helps you land a couple of massive deals with other sponsors or their guests in the Paddock Club.
Exactly. It becomes a justifiable strategic investment. But this still brings us back to that fundamental question. Can an F1 team actually be profitable? Or are they ultimately just expensive marketing tools for rich owners or car manufacturers?
Yeah, because historically most teams lost money, right?
Yeah.
They were propped up by wealthy individuals or car giants who saw it as R&D, or like you said, just a massive marketing spend.
That was definitely the old model for many, yes. But things have really shifted, especially with that budget cap coming in.
How so?
The landscape has adapted dramatically. Teams are now being run much more like actual businesses, focused on efficiency. They're finding ways to turn these operations into potentially profitable or at least sustainable enterprises.
Are any actually making money now?
Yes, absolutely. In 2023, the Mercedes F1 team actually reported an $83.8 million profit.
83 million pounds profit.
Yeah. And it's widely believed Ferrari's F1 operation is profitable too. McLaren Racing is another one. They went from a $9 million loss in 2022 to reporting a profit of over $12.9 million in 2023.
That's a huge turnaround, a real paradigm shift.
It absolutely is. And a big driver of this has been the massive surge in F1's popularity and viewership globally.
Especially since Liberty Media took over, right?
Exactly. Since Liberty bought F1 in 2017, they've done a lot to expand the audience. New races, better digital presence, and of course, the huge impact of Netflix's Drive to Survive series.
Drive to Survive was massive.
It brought in a whole new, younger audience. And all this increased popularity, it's caused the value of the teams themselves to just skyrocket.
And valuations are going up.
Through the roof. Forbes estimated the average value of an F1 team in 2024 sits at nearly $2.31 billion.
$2.3 billion.
Yeah.
Average.
Yep. Ferrari and Mercedes are naturally at the top, valued at $4.78 billion and $3.94 billion, respectively.
Incredible numbers.
But even look at Williams. Remember Williams Racing? They were bought by Doralton Capital back in 2020 for about $180 million.
Yeah, I remember that. Seemed like a bargain even then.
Right. Well, now, just a few years later, Williams is valued at nearly $1.24 billion.
Wow. From $180 million to over $1.2 billion. That's almost a 600% return in just 4 years.
Insane, right? It shows the asset value growth has been phenomenal.
Okay, so team valuations are booming. That's obviously great news for the owners, for the investors. It's incredible asset appreciation. But what does that mean for the sport itself?
That's the tension, isn't it?
Does this huge financial value risk overshadowing the actual racing? Does it become more about protecting the asset value, maximizing ROI, than about pure competition and, the thrill of the chase?
I think that's a very real concern.
Is that why the existing teams are fighting so hard against new teams like Andretti potentially coming in and upsetting the apple cart? They're protecting their multi-billion-dollar valuations.
That's precisely the tension at the heart of F1 right now. The teams, especially the ones who've been there a while, have worked incredibly hard to turn what was often a money pit into a genuinely valuable franchise asset. And yeah, they are naturally very protective of that value.
Makes sense from their perspective.
Looking ahead, F1 is definitely pushing for more growth. They're focused on things like their own streaming service, F1 TV, getting deeper into gaming, more social media stuff, all aimed at bringing in younger, more diverse fans globally.
Expanding the pie.
And they're also experimenting with promoting their own races, like they did with the Las Vegas Grand Prix. If F1 promotes the race itself, they capture all the revenue from the event, not just the hosting fee from a third party.
More direct control, more revenue.
Exactly. It's all about strategies to further boost the value of the entire franchise and, by extension, the teams within it.
Okay, so after following the money, digging into the billions in revenue, the crazy costs, the sponsorships, profitability, these soaring valuations, the fundamental question still kind of hangs there. Is Formula One actually a good business for everyone involved?
Well, like a lot of complex business questions, the answer is probably it depends on who you are.
Right.
For Liberty Media, the owners of F1, it's been a phenomenal investment. They bought it in 2017 for about $4.6 billion at an overall F1 valuation of $8 billion. Now, the most recent valuations put F1 itself at around $30 billion.
$30 billion. They've almost quadrupled their investment.
Incredible return. For the teams themselves, it's a bit more varied.
How so?
The biggest teams, the ones with manufacturer backing or billionaire owners, they can leverage F1 for marketing, for tech development, for brand building in ways that go way beyond just the team's profit and loss sheet.
It serves other strategic goals.
Exactly. The smaller independent teams, they definitely face a tougher battle day to day. But even for them, with the budget cap helping control costs and these rising valuations, they now have a path to operate more sustainably. And crucially, they're building significant equity value in the team itself, even if annual profits are sometimes still tight. It's become a strategic, long-term asset play for many of them, too.
So, could you start an F1 team? Technically, yes, I guess.
If you find about $1 billion down the back of the sofa.
Right. But not without close to $1 billion in cash, years of building, development, and facing this brutal fight against a system that seems almost designed now to keep newcomers out.
It's a high barrier to entry, for sure.
Because Formula One, it really isn't just motorsport anymore, is it? It's become this master class in how to turn burning ridiculous amounts of cash into building multi-billion-dollar empires.
That sums it up pretty well.
So what we've really seen today is this incredible journey, this transformation of F1 teams. They started as these passionate, often money-losing racing projects.
Driven by enthusiasts, engineers.
And now they're global entertainment franchises worth billions. It really is a masterclass in turning burning cash into building empires. Every crash you see, every champagne spray on the podium, it's all underpinned by this incredibly complex, multi-billion-dollar business model. And understanding that, understanding this financial ecosystem, the huge investments involved, it doesn't just make the races more interesting to watch, I think. It adds this whole other layer of appreciating the strategy, the business skill, the sheer pressure involved in succeeding in this world.
I agree. It adds depth to the spectacle. And it leaves us, and you listening, with a really compelling question to think about.
What's that?
Well, when you consider these massive anti-dilution fees we talked about, these constantly escalating team values, and this ongoing battle between, the pure passion for racing versus protecting a multi-billion-dollar franchise, how is that balance between sport and business going to shape the future of Formula One?
Right. Where does it go from here?
And maybe more fundamentally, what does it all mean for the actual soul of competitive motorsport, Especially if the chase for profit starts to seriously overtake the chase for victory on the track?